What's going on, Bengals fans? Welcome to Inside the Jungle, episode 9 of the podcast. Glad you're with us live here on Facebook and YouTube. So glad you're with us to talk about what was, I don't know, I guess a crash back down to reality for the Cincinnati Bengals over the weekend as they fall to the Pittsburgh Steelers 36-10. So the four of us, we will digest that game. We'll offer up our best and worst, something we used to do on the show. I'm going to bring it back. We'll offer those up this week as well. We'll take your calls to get your thoughts on the Steelers game and, of course, look ahead to what should be an interesting matchup with the Washington football team. I had a chance to dive in and take a look at some of their statistics, and it's quite the eye-opener if you look at this matchup for sure. If you're watching us live, make sure you chime in. We'll be reading the comments, of course. And as I mentioned, we do have phone lines open. We'll get to those a little bit later on in the show. Let's welcome in my cast of characters for this week. I will start with you, Mickey Mentzer. Mickey, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for giving us this session to vent, recover from the weekend, Nick. I'm looking forward to hearing everyone's take on that wonderful, wonderful game.
Yes, it was definitely wonderful. We'll just leave it at that. We'll also welcome into the show. We'll beam me up, Scotty. Scotty, how's it going, buddy?
Oh, much like Bengals Steelers week of the last 5 years, great build up and lots of disappointment from Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I guess we could say we weren't all that surprised by what transpired down in Pittsburgh. I guess up in Pittsburgh for you guys, down for me where I'm at here in Ohio. And out east for Anthony is where Pittsburgh's located, over on the West Coast. Anthony Cosenza, how's it going, bud?
Good. I feel like maybe we're in a little bit of a, I don't know what you would call it, a help meeting, a recovery meeting. Hi, I'm Anthony. I'm a Bengals fan. Hi, Anthony.
An intervention?
Yeah, something like that. Man, that one surprised. I mean, it surprised me a little bit. It didn't surprise me in some ways, but it just stings, man. And then, of course, you got everybody on the black and yellow side of things, gloating. So, that never makes anything better, unfortunately. But I'm doing okay otherwise. How are you, Nick?
I'm doing all right. We survived the storms over the weekend. Had some massive branches come down on our yard, but all in all, could be a lot worse. Thankful for that. Bengals over the weekend didn't get off to a good start in that game, and it just kind of seemed to go quickly downhill from there. So I'll start with you, Mickey. Give me your best and worst from Sunday.
Oh, the best, I'm going to say, Nick, the defense in the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
There was some bright spots there, and they were put in tough situations, and I think they held the Steelers well. The win wasn't great, and the first quarter the Steelers were on the good side of the field for the win, and that defense really kept the Bengals in the game at that point, even though that's a bad hands. Worst, special teams out of a bye week really stubbed their toe pretty bad at the beginning of that game. We had a fumbled punt, what could have been a fumbled kickoff. It was just a bad day. All we needed was Cavs to come out and do something stupid, and we would have had the trifecta. But yeah, just the Bengals in general, the preparation, having an extra week and coming out and looking that flat, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, those are pretty solid choices there, Mickey. What about you, Scott? Your best and worst?
Yeah, I'm going pretty general here. I thought the defense, specifically at the front, like Mickey said, but I'll say defense as a whole across the board, given the circumstances, I felt like they played pretty well. I think they only gave up like 44 yards rushing. Now, Pittsburgh didn't have a ton of carries, but I thought they held their own in the run game. Given what they were playing out there at cornerback, I feared the game would get out of control right off the bat, and it didn't. They kept them in the game long enough to give the offense a chance to try to get back up on their feet. The offense couldn't. So my worst would just be the offense as a whole, especially coming out of a bye. It just seemed, it seemed like they didn't have a plan. They had 2 weeks to prepare for that defense, and that's what we got. And that was just overall just disappointing to see such a stagnant offense. and it's an offense that had been playing pretty well the last couple of weeks. So it was surprising as well.
Yeah. How about you, AC? You got a best and worst?
How many worsts am I allowed to
You
give?
can give as many as you want, man.
I'll actually say this for the best. I know some of the stats here I'm going to point out came in garbage time, but I was a little surprised that the Bengals put up about 150 rushing yards, especially Joe Mixon. I think about 40 or 50 of that came on a fake punt, so there's a little bit of fool's gold in there. But look, if you're going to tell me that the Bengals were going to run for 150 yards and in Pittsburgh and Joe Burrow was not going to throw an interception, I would have said that's a pretty good formula to get a victory if you're the Cincinnati Bengals. Unfortunately, they just kind of had a bunch of other mistakes. I guess I'll just kind of narrow it down to a couple of worsts. I don't like to point out officiating, but there were a couple of pivotal calls that were not made for the Cincinnati Bengals, one being a punt that was fumbled, one being a critical Tyler Boyd catch, and I'm probably missing one other one in there, probably a couple of no roughing the passers against Joe Burrow. There are a couple of instances there where, it's just kind of the same old storyline in terms of the officiating in these games. Don't like to point to that towards the end result. I will say this. There was a point in the game, guys, where I think it was like 5 minutes left. The Bengals had the ball. They're moving it a little bit. And then there was a sequence of events, thanks to our good pal, Alex Redmond. 10-yard holding penalty after they're moving the ball and trying to get back in the game a little bit before halftime. Incomplete pass, and then the next play, a sack given up by Alex Redmond. And that drive really kind of then set the tone of where the rest of the game was going to go. And that was just a really disheartening sequence of events a little bit before halftime.
Yeah, that was kind of rough. You're right, AC. There was that sequence there by Redmond. And for the most part, leading up to that point, the offensive line, I thought, had played okay. Not spectacular, but okay. Burrow at that point hadn't really, been flushed out of the pocket all that much. They were able to run the ball against that Steelers front. But you're right. That was kind of a killer there right before the half to give up that sack. That was definitely disappointing. For my best, I'm still going to go with T. Higgins. I'll tell you what, that guy clearly is becoming wide receiver number one for the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't know if they were anticipating it happening this soon and this quickly when they drafted him last year, or this past year in the second round, first pick in the second round. But I'll tell you what, I absolutely love what we're seeing out of T. Higgins. That's for sure. And then, for my worst, I'm not even going to talk about something on the field. I'll just say, I know it's not easy to broadcast games. I've done it myself. It's not easy. But my goodness, Jonathan Vilma was absolutely horrendous in that game for Fox. Like, he was basically a Steelers homer during the game, watching it. So, look, it's not easy, and I hate to pick on announcers, but because it really isn't an easy gig. But my goodness,
he was bad. That's a fair call out, Nick. It was brutal to listen to him.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, look, I get it. They were shorthanded. They basically had every game on Sunday because of the Masters with CBS. So they had to fill in. I think Aqib Talib did the Detroit game. That was pretty bad too. But that was my worst. We'd love to hear from you if you're watching us live. Give us your best and worst from this weekend's game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. We do have phone lines open, as I mentioned, so get in touch with us tonight. 513-572-7757 is the number to call. Why don't we go to those phones, shall we? And let's welcome in area code 916. Hi, who's this?
Yeah, this is Hank from Clemson, South Carolina.
Hey, Hank, how's it going?
Hey, real good. New Bengals fan. When T. Higgins graduated or left school, decided I would follow the Bengals, and I've really gotten into the team. There's a lot of stuff I like on the offense. A couple things. First of all, I thought the play calling for the offense just quit in the second half. They just decided we're not going to take any shots down the field. We're not going to try to do anything. We're just going to run the ball. And the Steelers with the lead, they kept growing. They were more than happy to let them run the ball. So they got some inflated rushing stats, but really I felt like they let the team down. Because why not take a shot down to T. Higgins down the field? At Clemson, that was his strength. 50-50 balls, he can dominate those smaller DBs. He's got a huge reach advantage and wingspan. And I just was totally disappointed from that aspect. And then also coming out for next year's draft, I think everybody should keep an eye on Amari Rodgers. He's awesome. He's that slot receiver that can get open. He's an awesome punt returner, much better than Erickson. And he'd upgrade in a couple series. He's a great fourth wide receiver. So, just keep an eye on him. Check out his highlight films. He'll be like a second or third rounder, and he'd be a steal at that. He's a Steve Smith type, which would be perfect for this offense. And I'd just like to get his take. Thanks.
Well, interesting. Well, first of all, are you in school down at Clemson?
No, I just fan.
Okay.
I just live down there, and so been a Clemson fan my whole life. And T. Higgins was a big favorite for ours because he always made clutch plays. He saved at least 2 or 3 games just by making big plays and big catches. The last couple of years, and that ended up in a national championship and a appearance in the national championship. So.
Okay, well, very cool. Well, welcome to Bengaldom, where you're already knowing what it's like to have our misery. So we appreciate.
Yeah,
you.
no, I didn't really have a. Yeah, I didn't really have a team. So it's the Bengals. I'm not gonna quit just because they're losing. I got to have my guys back. So
well, good.
You guys are seeing everybody's becoming a fan and realizing how great he is. They don't understand he didn't really start playing seriously till he was 14. Before then, he was a basketball player.
Yeah.
And, so he keeps getting better each year. And with the fundamentals and the hard work that they instill with the players at Clemson, especially the wide receivers, it's a lot of technique. You get guys that are sure-handed that are going to catch the ball and run the routes correctly. So it's never bad to draft a Clemson wide receiver.
Any chance we can get your head coach?
Yeah, I don't think so. When you're making $9.3 million a year, which is more than what most coaches are, and you basically have a lifetime job, you don't want to leave it for something as uncertain as the NFL.
Fair enough. Well,
what part of South Carolina are you in?
Clemson, just outside of Clemson.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I've spent a lot of time in Greenville, so not too far away.
Oh, yeah. Not too far, Anderson. So,
yep.
If you know where that's at.
Very cool. Well, we appreciate your call, and don't be a stranger, man.
No, for sure. I listen to your guys' podcast every single week, so it's awesome. And you guys do an awesome job. Subscribe to all the channels and follow all you guys on Twitter.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, and we'll talk again soon, bud.
Cool. Thanks. Bye.
All right, we've got phone lines open. Get in touch. 513-572-7757 is the number to call. We want to know what your best and worst from this weekend was against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and any thoughts you might have leading into this weekend's game against Washington.
Well, he kind of touched on a point we talked about last week, Nick, about, continuing to build this offense, right? And I was going to make a snarky comment like, this receiver sounds great. Does he play any line? But but he's right. To keep surrounding your quarterback with those kind of weapons is definitely the direction we should go. Build the line, get some offensive help. And I love the points he was making on adding to that. And it's just cool. I don't know. It's always cool, hearing people that have followed kids in college and then followed them to the pros. And so he's obviously a fan. So that was nice. Yeah.
Let's talk about Erickson, shall we? I mean, outside of returning punts and the kickoff here and there, what is the role? What is it that's going on here? Why? And then as soon as the fumble happened, it was like you just knew how the day was going to go, gents.
I mean, it has to be the first opportunity, right? You just have to set the tone against a team like the Steelers. Put yourself in a hole as soon as you can. It's kind of like what I said with my best, to get that stop at the beginning and then just to give it back. You're like, come on, this crap again.
Yeah. And by the way, they only gave up 3 points after that. So that was a win considering, but still it set the tone.
Yep.
Yeah. Set the tone. And then of course the kickoff that was you're just sitting there thinking, just what did the Bengals arrive in Pittsburgh today? Like, what happened? So, yeah, that was quite disappointing. And once again, and we kind of talked about it with our best and worst gents. Once again, this team coming off a bye week, whether it's Zach Taylor, whether it's Marvin Lewis, how many times in the Marvin era did we sit here and wonder, what did you just do for the past week while everybody was off? They couldn't go home to their different, they were stuck in Cincinnati. Like, how could this have possibly, how could they have come out and looked so flat against us? Do you think it was they were trying to do too much?
Do you think it, but do you put that on the coaches?
It's probably a little both, right?
I mean, I'm definitely not a fan of this coaching staff, but no one played well. And when you look at the stats, right, this is what's insanely frustrating for me. And then I know Bengals fans. Look, I'm going to pick on our guy, right, Burrow. First game of the season, pretty bad game, but there's no real off season, right? So you give him that. Improves every week. His other two terrible games this year are the Ravens and Steelers, and granted, those teams are better than the majority of the teams we play, but man, he was missing throws. And at first I was attributing that to the wind. It was bad there. But then when you look at Roethlisberger, he's able to make those same throws. And he wasn't just missing by a little bit. There was times where he was missing by a ton. And then, my wife, who, she knows football, Chiefs fan, she's talking about, does he ever throw the ball down the field? And it's like, kind of, what the caller just said, like, we're not taking any chances down the field. Is that coaching? Is that gun shy, throwing the ball down the field? I don't know. Like, I didn't analyze every route, but I don't know. Why does the whole team come out flat against the Steelers and the Ravens? That's my biggest question.
Yeah. So just to touch on that, and I think a little bit of what Hank said, he mentioned, second half, the offense kind of crawled into a shell, didn't go after T. Higgins as much, especially with deep balls. I believe this was in the third quarter, there was a ball that T. Higgins was open. He kind of made a nice move, and he went towards the sideline, and Burrow overthrew him. Burrow just overthrew him. And I think it's not being talked about a lot, but I think that hit that he took towards the end of the second quarter where he hurt his ankle, I don't think he was able to really put a lot of weight and utilize proper footwork towards the end of that football game. If you noticed, if you look at the stats at the beginning, the first two quarters of the game, and then really after that injury, and I don't want to make excuses for the guy because he missed a lot of throws, but I think the ankle injury was bugging him more than a lot of people are letting on. After that late hit where Bud Dupree pushed him out of bounds and he tumbled into the bench. So, I think they tried to make do there. I don't think his mechanics were right, or he was able to put a lot of weight on his feet. If you kind of watch some of the throws in the second half there, but you guys know, I mean, we've talked about it a long time about the primetime stuff. And now, we kind of said, well, maybe that was a Marvin thing. That was a Marvin thing, right? He just didn't prepare right, and the team just crawled into its shell. Well, let's carry it over now to the next coaching staff, and with a new franchise quarterback, and against the preeminent teams in the NFL, the bad boys of the division in the Steelers and the Ravens. This wasn't prime time per se in terms of Sunday night or Monday night, but I mean, it was a high profile game later on Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. So, at some point, we talked about this last week, guys, at some point you got to learn to beat these guys if you're ever going to make a championship run with whoever's at quarterback, whoever your head coach is. And they seem light years away from being able to do that.
Yeah. Hard to argue. Scott, you got any thoughts on that?
No. I mean,
well said.
It's just this, it's the same stuff that we've been talking about since the Marvin days, with the bye week, with the Steelers, with just, I don't want to absolve the coaching staff, but there's equal blame to go around between coaches and players, right? I mean, Zach Taylor's not out there dropping punts. We talked about Alex Erickson before. Why is he on the team? Well, one of the reasons he's on the team is he's pretty sure-handed and reliable. Well, on Sunday, he was anything but, right? He starts the game off with the fumble. After the Bengals came out and made a very good defensive stand, I think they get one first down, then forced the punt. And he got a reliable punt returner, and he drops the football. And, same with T. Higgins, right? As great as T. Higgins has been this year, he gets the ball stripped away. Another play where, that's not a lack of preparation by the coaches. That's not on the coaches. That's on the players, right? You got to hold on to the football. So it's just, what's so frustrating is the fact that, it's not one thing that you can just point to. It's just a multitude of comical errors, really.
I said it on Twitter, and I think in both those instances, you had a player fighting for a few extra feet, right? Like, it's not like you're going to break out of those tackles and get there. And so that just gives the defense the opportunity to strip the ball. And I tweeted out, like, you're not going to win this game on one play. Like, stick to your fundamentals and play a smart game. And for whatever reason, we press in these games, and we just don't get there.
Is the Jermaine Gresham special, right?
Yeah.
It's where you got like three guys draped around you and you're trying to fight for an extra half yard. It's like, what's it matter, right? Go down, secure the football, Jeremy Hill. You're right, Mickey. It's just that awareness.
And T. Higgins and Jeremy Hill don't fumble, right? But in that against our biggest games, they do.
Yeah. Neither did Ben Jarvis Green Ellis, right?
Yeah,
that's right.
Until he
put stripes on.
Yeah.
Oh, that they played with inflated footballs.
Perhaps, yeah.
Let's go to the phones, shall we? Welcome in area code 305. Hi, who's this?
Hey, what's going on, gentlemen? Fatal Content, man. How are you guys doing?
What's going on, Fatal? Are you all right? Did you recover from Sunday?
Oh, man, I'm mentally broken with these Bengals, so you know how they can do it sometimes.
Misery loves company.
Yep. Yeah, you guys touched on some good points tonight, man. It's just hard to pinpoint one thing. Sometimes you want to say it's Burrow, but is there a guy working with less and being asked to do more? I mean, the guy, I thought they were going to have to put a wide receiver at that cornerback. I mean, it was dreadful. I mean, we haven't seen a minute of Wayne's yet. Alexander gets hurt. Phillips was out. I mean, how many teams? We had one good corner in William Jackson, and the rest guys off the street. It was against the Steelers. That was a recipe for disaster. I was surprised we hung in as long as we did in the beginning.
That's a good point. As banged up as they are in the secondary, Tony Brown had a rough one. There was a couple times where I think Chase Claypool either missed a catch or dropped the ball, and Tony Brown's talking smack to him. Like, dude, you don't have any room to be talking at the moment,
right?
You're getting absolutely torched. But yeah, you're right, Phil. I mean, that was rough to watch. And even William Jackson, I thought, had a rough game too. So.
Oh yeah. He got called for a PI that Steelers evidently don't do on their side, but it's just rough, man. It's just with no mixing, and I don't know if you guys have any insight. What in the world? How can John Ross not see one snap? Like, what is this with this guy? Is it like he's just in the doghouse for good? They're done with him, or what is the issue with this? Because I watch and I'm like, he can at least get. I mean, I'm seeing this. What's this guy's name? Number 80, Mike
Thomas.
I'm seeing this guy. Yeah, Mike Thomas. I'm like, how John Ross can do that? I mean, I just don't. Is he just not a good football player? What's going on?
But that's the thing. Can John Ross do that? Can he do that? That's the question. And I don't think the Bengals coaching staff think he can.
Yeah, it has to be, man. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen a story like that. It's like the guy forgot how to play football. I don't understand how, Joe Burrow is in need of weapons, and you got guys out, you got Mixon out, and this guy just doesn't see the field. In my mind, I'm just guessing it's over with. I just wonder if you guys had any insight on why it is he's not on the field, or what's the biggest problem.
He was hurt this week.
Yeah,
he got a foot injury in practice, right, Mickey?
It was it foot or ankle or something like that? But yeah, it was funny because it was misreported first that they were going to try to start playing him at some corner, and then he gets hurt right before that. Honestly, when I hear that, I'm questioning if he got hurt. You know what I mean? Like with this guy's attitude, and you've seen some of the things he's written on the whiteboard in there. I don't know if he's just playing a game or maybe he's hurt, but I don't know. Like, all I know about John Ross is he's insanely fast and he has trouble catching the ball. And so there's a lot of people that are trying to be pro football players that are fast and probably can't catch the ball.
Well, can he bat a ball? because that would be great on defense.
Maybe I don't know. So this guy, I think it's an attitude thing with this guy, and I think he probably struggles with the playbook. He knows how to run the one route, and that's about it. So I mean, I think that's what his issue is.
Someone earlier was talking about Erickson, and I think everybody's been asking. I think there's a comment in the live comment thread about why doesn't John Ross even get a look at punts? That's always been a question to me. I mean, there are teams that are willing to. And by the way, John Ross returned punts and kicks. I think more kickoffs than punts in Washington. He was very successful one of the years. Had 2 returns for touchdowns. Did you guys know CeeDee Lamb, first round pick of the Cowboys? He returns punts for that team. So if the argument is, well, we don't want John Ross, former first-round pick, to get hurt, well, he's getting hurt in practice, whether he's playing corner or not. So maybe utilize the speed on punt returns and at least see what you got, if anything, in a different role. If a team like the Cowboys are willing to use CeeDee Lamb on punt returns, why are the Bengals not willing to use John Ross and punt returns, kickoff returns, something? They used to do that Brandon Tate, Adam Jones alternation thing. Maybe that's something they look at going forward. I don't know. But I think Mickey, I agree a lot with what Mickey said in terms of maybe desire, playbook issues, all of that. We're not privy to that inside info, but I think you can point to some of those things.
Do you have a best? Oh, go ahead, Scott.
I was just going to say, I go back to, I blame Marvin for John Ross. I think he crushed his confidence. And you can say, well, then, that's on John Ross. He shouldn't let his confidence be crushed that easily, which I would agree with. But you go back to when he was a rookie, right? The first time he ever touched the ball on an end around, he fumbles. He never saw the field again, right? Every time he did something that year, it would be like a small mistake. And Marvin would go out of his way to call him out. Now, this was the same Marvin that wouldn't call out guys who were blatant knuckleheads on the field and really screwed up and cost the team a game. And yet he just seemed to go after Ross, and Ross just doesn't seem like he's the guy that could handle that. And I think it's just a broken confidence thing. I don't think he's ever got it back.
Why don't they trade him? Why don't they just get something for him? If he's just
AC, that's crazy talk now.
Well, I guess. But
there has to be a team that wants to trade for him.
I guess. There's nobody out there, do you think, that would give any? I mean, I don't understand how they're Fatal brings up a good point. I don't understand the entire handling of the John Ross career to this point. I think that's a two-way street, but
I agree.
I don't get it.
Fatal also brought up a good point about running the football. Like for me, and Fatal, you can comment on this if you want to. Like, I love that Joe Burrow has the ability to drop back and throw the ball 50 times a game, but you're going to get him hurt. And so, and I know they ran the ball a little bit better this weekend with Samaje Perine and Giovanni Bernard, but man, I would like to see them run the ball a little bit more. And I know it's tough with that makeshift offensive line when you've got guys coming off the waiver wire and filling right in line. There's got to be zero continuity, especially with guys getting COVID and guys getting hurt. Like, man, at some point, let's line up behind center and smash mouth somebody and protect our quarterback a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing Jonathan Vilma did a good job at. It hurt.
The one thing, Fatal, the one thing.
The one thing he got right the whole telecast. He was like, hey, man, this is good. Run the ball when Perine got a few yards. But I would like to see Travion Williams get a few carries. He got some when it was garbage time, but I like to see him. He has pretty good speed. I like to see him, and it's brutal, man. I need to see some more running, man. I need to see Joe not, it's like AC said, Joe was looking really good at one stretch. He completed a ton of passes in a row. He threw that beautiful touchdown to Higgins, and then he hurt that ankle, and he just didn't look the same, which is, where you're running for your life on one foot. I wouldn't be throwing the ball precisely either.
No. Fatal, I hope you forgive me for ripping on Vilma. I know he's a you guy.
No, I'm not biased, man. My guy was abysmal, but that's just the way it is. He was abysmal in that call.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you calling as always, buddy.
All right, man. You guys are the greatest, man. Background King, beam me up. Hey, man, you guys know you're the best, man. Can't forget about my guy Mick over there. You too, Chipmunk.
Thanks, buddy. Oh my god,
All right, fellas.
I forgot all about that. Dang, Fatal.
What'd he say?
He called me Chipmunk.
Oh,
Remember I had the chipmunk in my house?
yeah.
Oh my god.
God.
Hopping in the Wayback Machine there.
Wow.
I forgot about that.
Oh, that's great. Thanks, Fatal. Appreciate the call. We've got phone lines open. 513-572-7757 is the number to call. Man, I don't know what you guys think about that. I really would like to see them start running the ball more effectively in parts of the game where it matters, right? This weekend, the game is out of hand. So, and by the way, the Steelers are one of the worst rush defenses in the NFL. So, I think running the ball when they need to run it starts needing to happen a little bit more.
Yeah, there's a lot that needs to happen a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, a semblance of balance would definitely be great. It's just a matter, I mean, the lack of consistency in the run game is maddening. And I mean, I think we know, though, given Higgins and Burrow, et cetera, this is a pass first offense, but you still need to have some semblance of balance for sure.
Yep. We've gone and made Scott quiet tonight.
Yeah, he's not saying much. I think we've made him more depressed.
I don't have much else to add. I mean, it's beating a dead horse at this point.
What'd you guys make of the line? I know Fred Johnson was in COVID protocol, couldn't play. I think at one point Spain was playing right tackle, and then had Alex Redmond at right guard. And correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I didn't see that correctly. But I thought at one point Spain was playing right tackle.
It was.
No, you're right.
So what do you make? I mean, can we get Suafilo back anytime soon for a right guard? I mean, my goodness.
Yeah, I'll talk on this one here. I'll
Finally, all right, here we go.
I'll probably get Alex Redmond's dad coming after me in Twitter.
So then let me do this here real quick. I'm going to throw up that lower third. So
there we go.
Yeah, that's right. So he can find me. But look, when we get some healthy guys back on this line, Alex Redmond's got to be the first guy that's unemployed again. He's done an okay job. He kind of saved them when he joined the team, but at this point they've been able to add some depth with Spain, with Finney, with Suafilo hopefully coming back. He had 2 plays in that game that just crushed them. There was the 2nd and 2. They pick up the first down around midfield, and he gets it called back for a holding. And I think the drive stalled after that, and they punted. And then we brought it up earlier. He had what else did he do? Anthony, I think you brought it up. He had another dumb play. We'll just leave it at that later in the game. But he's got to be the first guy that comes off that line when we get some guys healthy, because he's just a penalty every game, at least a minimum of 1 penalty, and usually critical. So other than that, I thought Spain played well at right tackle. I think I saw on Pro Football Focus he didn't get great grades, but I disagree. Watching the game, I thought he did okay. I thought the line held up way better than I thought they were going to against the Steelers. I thought Adeniji did pretty well at left tackle as well. I'm excited to see what it'll look like when you get a couple of these guys back healthy, see who they start at guard.
We got Scott to finally start talking, which is good.
I love it.
Then I didn't shut up. So
I like Tyler Olson's lineup, Nick, in the live YouTube chat.
Throw it up there.
Yeah, he said Adeniji at right tackle, Spain at left guard, Suafilo at right guard, and then you've got obviously Jonah when he's back at left tackle and Trey Hopkins in the center. I think that's probably an ideal lineup. Maybe you look at Fred Johnson again at right tackle, but I agree with Scott. I think Adeniji played pretty well at left tackle, and I think you give him a shot at right tackle, give him some development, especially where your record's at this point of the season, and roll with those guys. I like what Spain's shown too, so I think that might be a good bet going forward.
and correct me, I think I might have even said this last week on the show. I think I heard Dave Lapham saying that Adeniji is more comfortable on the left side. And so that might be why we would probably continue to see, if Bobby Hart is still out and Jonah Williams is back playing left tackle, man, that talk about an injury that's taken a while to get over that one too. Man, who would have thought we'd be missing him too? But they got Hopkins back, which is good. I thought there weren't any real issues at center. But yeah, there's some definite question marks. It would be really nice if they could just get a consistent lineup, a consistent 5 guys that would play all season long. I know that's impossible with today's NFL with injuries and whatnot, but they really could use some continuity there. That's for sure. All right. It's that time of the show. We take a little bit of a break. Just to remind you, you can rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts. So once you head over to Apple Podcasts, we got a question last week asking if you have to have an Apple account in order to leave a written review. I believe you do, but I don't think it costs anything. I think it's free to do. So head on over to Apple Podcasts, leave a rating and review. We didn't get any new ones this week. We will definitely read out the newest one we get on next week's show. So make sure you go and do that. And of course, if you're always looking to get in touch with us, you can email us insidethejunglepod@gmail.com and do us a favor and get subscribed over on YouTube, youtube.com. Nope, we'll get there. Eventually, we'll have our own custom URL. You can just search for Inside the Jungle on YouTube as well. Let's do some shout outs, shall we? Mickey, why don't you start us off? Give us a shout out for this week.
Mine's a new one to me. Name's Brian. He's at BArtBow on Twitter. Interacted with him a bit during the game on Sunday, and went through his feed and kind of dug the vibe, and so I wanted to shout him out.
A good one. Anthony, you got one?
Yeah, I am going to shout out a Twitter. It's, they've got a lot of followers, but it's operated by Nate or Nathan, and it's the @Bengals Talk Twitter handle. They retweeted. Nate's been awesome. He retweets all kinds of different stuff, whether it's stuff we do, stuff other people do, different podcasts, different websites, and he is on top of a lot of different stuff. Just kind of is almost like a point guard, if you will, of Bengals news, kind of bringing it out to a lot of different people. So @Bengals Talk retweeted our podcast post that I saw on Twitter, and Nate's a good guy that runs that. So I'm going to shout him out. Yeah,
absolutely. I echo those sentiments as well, AC. Nate, thank you for spreading the word about us, especially when we returned. We needed to get the word out, and Nate was a big help for that. So I appreciate that. How about you, Scott?
Yeah, last week asked for some followers, some veterans on Veterans Day, and we got a couple retweets. So I was going to shout those out. Mark Young, who, according to his feed, looks like he's served.
It's a good one.
So shout out to Mark, and thanks for your service. And then the other one was John King. I don't know if John was in the services or not, but he replied to the tweet. So a shout out to John King as well.
All right, good shout out. Yeah, Mark, a longtime fan of the show.
Yep.
From back when we did it many years ago. And usually he's in the chat, not tonight. That's okay. We know Mark will listen to us after the fact. I'm going to give a shout out. This gentleman is in our chat tonight at TO Show 24, Tyler Olson. He asked for a shout out on Twitter, and I am giving you one. I went through his Twitter feed, and I chuckled right away because the last tweet I see is him mentioning that he was dating a girl and found out that she was a Steelers fan, and he quickly ended that relationship. So, Tyler, kudos to you, buddy. You made the right call on that one. So if you want to shout out here on the show, give us a follow at Inside Jungle Pod on Twitter. We're doing our best to get more and more content up on there as well. And or if you want to just a shout out and you're not on Twitter, we can send us an email, insidethejunglepod@gmail.com. Tyler brings up a great question here in our chats. He says, how long of a leash do you guys give Zach? Like, how many wins will it take for him to stay? Possible replacements. If he goes 0-6 in the division. Is he gone? No. Knowing the Brown family, I don't see him being replaced personally. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, should he be gone? Yes. Will he be gone? No. I mean, what have we seen that shows promise for the future from this coaching staff?
Yeah, I go back to that Tennessee game, and I thought at the time it was a really good win. But then I saw him on Thursday night against the Colts, and I'm thinking, wow, that was definitely not a very good football team. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of with you, Mickey. Nothing really showing me at the moment.
And I don't care if we beat the Tennessees, right? Like AC and I we're banging this drum. Until you win in the division, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters.
We're a quiet bunch tonight. AC,
Well, I'm trying to give Scott the floor here. I feel like I've trampled all over him.
No, don't worry. I'll get my words in when I need to get them in.
Just dead horse. Is that the words?
No. I wasn't sure Mickey was done, so I was giving him a chance to. I was giving him a chance to finish, but I don't know. I'll be a little bit optimistic here. I'm not as down on this game, I think, as most. I'm not as down on this season, I think, as most. I think the one thing that I see promise in is it sounds like a good relationship between Burrow and Taylor. Everything I hear from Burrow is good in regards to Taylor. And I know maybe that shouldn't mean as much as it does, but I think having that coach quarterback relationship is key. And I think we've seen a lot of games this year where Burrow has looked obviously well beyond his years. So I'm not completely down on him. I picked them to win this week against the Steelers. Had I known what they were going to be going up to Pittsburgh with as far as cornerbacks, I would have changed that pick for sure.
Amen.
I don't want to give them excuses, but there's also, the reality and facts. And the reality and facts is they went up there with missing their number 2, number 3, and number 4 cornerback. A couple minutes into the game, they were missing their number 3 quarterback. So they're starting number 5 and number 6 to the point where, or 6 and 7, actually, I think, to the point where they were looking at John Ross playing cornerback this week. So I think it was unrealistic to expect them to be very competitive in that game, given the situation. And again, that's not me trying to make excuses. That's just the reality of it. I would like to see, like Mickey said, though, they've got to win one of these last 2 against Baltimore or Pittsburgh. Otherwise, I do go into the offseason with a lot of questions, but I also agree with Mickey that regardless of whether Taylor should be fired or not, he won't be. He's going to get a 3rd season. I believe that firmly.
Yeah. 4-20-1. What is he? 1-10 1-9 in the division, 1-10 in the division at this point. No road wins. I mean, at some point you got to start looking at some of these pretty big signals and saying, what's going on here? I do agree with Scott and Mickey on a lot of the points they made, so I don't want to reiterate those. And I also I want to agree with Scott also in the fact that I don't think Taylor's gone this year. I think he's going to get a chance next year. If we know anything about this organization, they like to make excuses, point to injuries, they'll probably point to the COVID offseason. They'll point to the offseason before when Taylor was brought in late and assembled his staff late. I think if anything, though, to save face, Zach Taylor's going to need to give up play calling duties. He's going to need to delegate, either bring on another assistant or what have you. That's going to need to be delegated elsewhere because he is a young, inexperienced coach, and adding that to his plate along with head coaching duties just seems to be too much for him. And I just, there are a lot of different indicators that are pointing to what Mickey said, saying that this guy and this staff are not the ones. But I think they're going to give him a shot into next year to at least prove otherwise.
Yeah. So for me, if he is brought back, if I'm the Browns, which I don't know if they would do this, but I would say you need to give up play calling duties. to the coordinator that you have currently, because we don't know if he can call a game or not. We don't know. Maybe he can. We just don't know. And then I would also look for another defensive coordinator. I don't think Anarumo's the answer there. There are some pretty talented defensive coordinators out there that are on the market. I still go to Wade Phillips. I know the scheme might not match, or the roster doesn't match the type of scheme he's got, but he's an experienced coach in this league, and I would definitely lean on him if I could. But that's just me. But I don't think Zach Taylor will be gone next year. I think he will definitely be back as the head coach next year. But I also think the changes definitely need to be made on the staff. But that's my personal take there. It was plain as day over the weekend watching this Bengals front. The lack of pass rush ability for them. And it took another blow today when Tack McKinley failed his physical and so will not be arriving.
Did it take a blow today, Nick? Were they going to get much out of Tack?
Well, probably not.
Yeah.
But it was another body that could have potentially helped. But yeah, I mean, it. Yeah, they definitely need to address the in the offseason the pass rush, whether that's through free agency. I don't know, but that's that. I mean, Big Ben once again sat back there, and gosh, he could have shaved his beard.
I mean, it was small, but I thought Hubbard added some.
He did. I agree there. But how many times did we see this past weekend where they had Roethlisberger and it was from a pass rush from the outside, right?
Yeah.
And in years past, when the Bengals have done a good job of actually getting to Roethlisberger, where was that pass rush coming from? Up the middle.
Yeah, up the gut.
Geno Atkins. And that's the one thing you can do, because Roethlisberger's big enough. He can get into that pocket. And if you try to come around the outside, you're just gonna fall off of him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, that was disappointing.
You're
right. I think Hubbard did help.
Well, they've got a big offseason question in play too. That's Carl Lawson. If I remember correctly, he's a free agent at the end of this year. And
isn't William Jackson also?
Yes.
Those are two big questions.
Yeah. Well, I was just saying from a pass rush standpoint, because Lawson's by far their most dangerous pass rusher. And I think
you're using that term very liberally.
I am, but I think he will command a lot of
dangerous, like cotton balls are dangerous.
Well, if he's that dangerous, then maybe they just let him walk. I was gonna say he's probably gonna command a lot of interest in probably a lot of money. So they're gonna have a big decision of, do they pay this guy or not?
You cannot pay him top 10 money, AC.
No. And I think what the Bengals have in Hubbard and Lawson obviously more effective than Hubbard on a consistent pressure quarterback hit type of basis, but they've got two guys that are like great number two guys in terms of pass rushers, rotational guys. Kind of like on the offensive line, they don't have the guy. Geno Atkins used to be the guy, but we haven't seen him this year. They need to find the guy. They need to hang on to Lawson, and that way you have a couple of decent pass rushers. Tack would have helped from a rotational standpoint and maybe get you some things here and there, but he wasn't going to be the guy. So, I know we want offensive line high in the draft or what have you. I think pass rusher needs to really be emphasized, and not just by keeping Carl Lawson, but adding another high-end guy to help you get to the passer regularly.
Yeah, well, that's my point, though, Anthony. I think Lawson's going to command over $10 million. And at that point, you got to ask the question, can they afford to keep him at that price? The same question, can they afford to let him go? A team that can't get to the quarterback, he's the one guy that at least gets close, right? I mean, it's a dilemma they got for sure.
Yeah. And AC mentioned the guy, they need the guys. They need more than one guy. It's pretty evident. So, yeah, we'll see what happens for sure. Let's look ahead to this weekend, though, shall we? I dove into the stats here, and I was really taken aback by what I'm seeing out of the Washington football team. 28th in total yards offensively, so not great offensively, right? This past weekend, Alex Smith started a game and actually threw for over 300 yards against the Lions. Almost led them to a pretty epic comeback. They were down 24-3, ended up losing on a 59-yard field goal. But here's where I'm concerned. Coming into this game, the Bengals are going up against the number one pass defense. The number one. We thought the Steelers were tough. The Redskins are currently, oh my gosh, the Washington football team.
I didn't know who you were talking about there.
I know. So sorry. They're the number one pass defense from a yards per game standpoint, giving up less than 200 yards per game through the air. Are you guys surprised by that?
No. What are they giving up? I haven't looked, but how many rushing yards are they giving up?
They're 21st in rush defense.
So teams are moving the ball. I don't know. Some of that's anecdotal, right? Like, so you're not throwing as much. How are they on sacks and quarterback hits and things like that?
Did not look at that.
Some of it's also they're in the NFC East, so you got to look at who they've been, playing against. So
I mean, they got Subs thrown against them.
We're running against them.
Yeah.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had a nice run on Sunday.
You looked fast, Nick.
I mean that stat could be a little bit misleading, right? I mean, they are 2-7, and teams.
The stat I looked at, Nick, was the spread, right? And so typically, NFL teams get 3 points for being at home, and the spread is Washington -2.
Really?
Yeah. So even after that wonderful performance the Bengals put on tape this past weekend, they're still considered competitive in this game. A coin flip.
Interesting. Yeah, I saw that number one stat, pass defense, only giving up 197 yards per game. And that could be because they have been behind in a lot of the games that teams are just running the ball on them. It could be that.
Yeah, and I did look, Nick. They did play Kyler Murray week 2, but other than that, they've got Carson Wentz, Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, Goff,
Stafford,
twice. Whoever the Cowboys played in that game, it wasn't Dalton or.
Oh, what Dalton? Because he ended up getting crushed in that game.
Dalton, and then yeah.
No. Because they won that game 25-3.
Right.
You said Dalton played that game?
Dalton is the Washington football team is who took out.
Oh, that's right. Yep, you're right. Okay, fair enough. And then Stafford.
Yeah.
I'm surprised at the pass defense stat, Nick, based on who they have at corner, safety. I mean, I'm looking at it. Ronald Darby's pretty good. I mean, you've got Kendall Fuller, decent. But I'm not seeing lockdown guys. I'd have to probably look at some of the metrics and stuff. Safeties, I mean, trying to look at those. DeShazer Everett. I mean, Troy Apke, are these household names? No. So I guess in a way there is some surprises there in terms of pass defense. But, I think the Bengals can exploit some things this week.
And then I started to look like, well, maybe they had like a couple games canceled because of COVID. But no, they've played 9 games, just like the Bengals have. But yeah, so I was very surprised. I mean, I didn't look and see what Stafford ended up having over the weekend, but it looked like he had a pretty good day throwing the ball. So anyway, I just look, and this is where numbers can be a little bit misleading, right? I mean, yeah, Joe Burrow can lead the league in completions. He can lead the league in attempts, but look at the record. So numbers can definitely be misleading there. All right, let's do some bold predictions, shall we?
Hey, ladies, quit your babbling, because now's the time in the show when all the boys pull out their cojones and make bold predictions.
All right. Last week, Scott's bold prediction was that the Bengals were going to win.
Oh, I
Could
blew
not
that
have been
one.
more wrong, buddy. So we'll let
Yeah.
you start off. What do you got?
Yeah, like I said, I would take a mulligan if I would have known the cornerback situation on Sunday, or on Tuesday, like I did on Sunday. I almost tweeted you for a mulligan on that one, but bold prediction. I'm going to play right into what you were just talking about, Nick, with the passing game. I'm not buying in on the Redskins pass defense.
The
I'm going to say
Washington football team.
I did it as well. The football team's pass defense. I think Burrow has a bounce back game like he did after the Baltimore game. I think he puts up 350 yards against the football team's pass defense.
All right. That is kind of bold. How about you, Mickey? What? I don't even remember. What did you have last week, Mickey?
It's probably something about the Bengals getting crushed. If I had to guess, it's probably what it is. No, I think I said sackless.
That's right.
That didn't happen.
And that's how they played.
Mhm.
But where's
Nope.
the the rim
That
shot
was
when I
good.
need it on the sound effect board. Dang,
Nope.
AC.
Well timed.
Guy gets locked in his house in California and has a new sense of humor.
Hey, I'm working on my stand-up routine.
Yeah,
I'll
good work.
give you some next week.
Just another fire in California over there from AC.
Oh.
No, I think I'm going to go the opposite of Mr. Beam Me Up. I think the Bengals are going to rush for $180.
Okay.
I'm not going to put on one player, but I think they're really going to move the ball on the ground. No, you know what? I'll say 200. I'll make it 200.
Will any of those yards come from Joe Mixon?
He's day to day, so there's a good chance that he won't play ever again in his life.
Yeah. Tyler in our chat room says Jesse Bates 2 interceptions and 1 for 6. So that's his bold prediction, Anthony.
Okay. I'll go a little Price is Right and one up Scott a little bit since he went after your pass defense statistic that you threw out. I got 4s and 2s on the mine. So I'm going to say 400 plus passing yards from Joe and 4 total touchdowns. And I'll go super bold with this one. With the 2s, I'll say 200 yards from AJ Green and 2 touchdowns.
Oh,
Wow.
AJ Green comes back to AJ Green. Does he have 200 yards on the season?
What year is this?
It's bold predictions, baby. Got to go bold, right?
I mean, you're kind of running out of things to get bold about with this team, unfortunately. It's kind of where we're at, right? So,
Dude had 0 catches on 5 targets last week, so I think he's due.
He hit some bad.
Maybe.
Some of those balls were off. They weren't all on him.
They were.
Yeah. Cody Toomey in the chat room says, glad we paid a running back. Running backs don't matter this year. Just continues to prove that. Fatal Content going bold. He says a 50 burger for the Bengals, 100 plus yards for Travion Williams is my bold claim.
Wow.
That is pretty bold.
He doesn't think Mixon's playing.
No, yeah, I'm with you there. Okay, my bold prediction. Holy cow. We're facing Alex Smith, not exactly mobile, right? Especially after the leg injury. I'm going to say the Bengals finish this game with 4 or more sacks. That's my bold prediction.
Hubbard.
Hopefully. I don't care who it is. Just get to the quarterback.
I mean, he was there. He was the closest, and he had that. I think it was a crappy call on roughing Ben, where he got pushed in and just bumped the side of his leg. But you know, he seemed to be the most disruptive guy up there.
No.
Ben Streep selling the drama, pulling his best Oscar performance. Good God, holding his knee.
Let's see here.
Ben's always one for the injury drama, right?
He really is. It's so much fun.
Rowdy Every Lap on YouTube says T. Higgins' first 10 reception game. He's certainly trending that way. He and Burrow definitely seem to have a rapport for sure. Cody's Mr. Happy Fun guy today. He's saying 4, 11, and 1. Okay. Zach and new coach Sewell. Man, Cody's just on fire tonight. He's really feeling it. Ben in the chat says 2 Carl Lawson sacks and 4 touchdowns for Joey B. Bold. I like it. If you've got a bold prediction, make sure you send them to us on Twitter at Inside Jungle Pod. Use the hashtag bold prediction and let us know your thoughts on this week's game. Let's do some score predictions. AC, I'll start with you. What do you got?
Well, since I did the four touchdowns there, I would say, I guess, at least 28. So I'll say 37-31 Bengals. I know it's a road game, and Zach Taylor's never won a road game, so maybe he breaks the schneid here against a not very good Washington football team.
Fatal's bold prediction also, Scott is on verge of shaving.
Sounds like a bet.
Yeah, not yet. I think it'll go at least through November.
Good for you, buddy. You got a score prediction?
I do. I think big points for the Bengals, just like AC. I'm going to go 41-27. Zach Taylor gets his first win on the road. It's a big win on the road. It washes the taste of the Steelers' loss away a bit. Yeah, AC, when you haven't won on the road in 2 years, yes. It's a big win on the road.
Fair.
Cody brings up a good point. Maybe you guys want to rethink this. Washington's pass rush is too much for this offensive line.
Not this line. They're solid. They're proving it week in, week out.
Yeah, Chase Young going up against Fred Johnson or Quentin Spain.
He would have looked so good in stripes.
Well, he definitely, maybe. That definitely could have helped. Man, we are the happy, fun bunch tonight. All right, Mickey,
you got two win predictions so far. I'm going Bengals win 27-24.
All right. If I had to give a prediction,
which you do,
I do.
It's in the contract.
I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm going Bengals lose. I think they lose 21-17 to the Washington football team this week. I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair. Washington struggled against the Lions. They had 3 points through like 3.5 quarters. They rallied late, but I think it's going to be a late one. I think the Redskins get a late touchdown on us.
The
Washington football team.
Jeez
Louise.
That's
Chris Asbrock.
We're going to get fined so many times for this show.
I know.
Yeah.
Chris Asbrock.
That should have been our bold prediction. How many times is the broadcasting crew on Sunday going to drop the wrong name for the football team?
Yeah. Good buddy of mine, Chris Asbrock. He says Bengals 31-24. Appreciate you tuning in, Chris. Tyler Olson going with a Bengals loss to the Washington football team 28-24. So we've got some mixed reactions here in the chat. I can honestly tell you that this is a first in Inside the Jungle history where the three of you have picked a win and I have picked a loss. That has never, ever has that ever happened.
Really?
On the show? No, because back when we did the show, however many years ago, I always picked a win. I just did.
You did?
But
I don't remember that.
I always picked a win. I didn't want to be that guy to be negative. So I would always pick a win. And here I am being the only one to pick a loss. Weird. Feels weird. I feel dirty.
Speaking of negative, do you think the Bengals even had a discussion with DeAndre Baker? AC?
I saw a report that they were interested. I think last I saw he's headed to the Chiefs for a visit, right?
Well, I heard they're signing him to the practice squad. The Chiefs are. Yeah.
I heard there was some initial interest, and if you remember, I think Was he an Anarumo guy, or was he after Anarumo left?
That I don't know. He played.
I'd have to double check when Baker was picked, but I think there was some interest there from the Bengals. I'm surprised there's not more interest, and maybe because he was an Anarumo guy for sure, is Eli Apple, who's sitting out there.
Right.
I thought that Anarumo would maybe call on him because he coached him, but maybe that's a total indictment of of Apple. But
Eli Apple, yeah, it was a former Buckeye, Mickey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you love your Buckeyes.
When they're at Ohio State, sure. No, I thought, I mean, especially with the issues we're having at corner, I thought they'd make a run at one of these guys. And I mean, from sure, Baker had 4 counts of armed robbery against him, but they were all dropped. And then the lawyer for the accuser was ended up getting arrested for trying to extort him. So it looks like it was total crap. But I don't know. I'm just surprised. Like, it's just a statement. This guy would rather be a practice squad player for the Chiefs than I'm sure other teams would have had him on a roster somewhere. I don't know. And so I'm wondering if the Bengals even tried.
In looking it up and seeing some comments here, he was drafted in 2019. So he was not part of Anarumo's crew there.
All right, then. Well, this has been a fun show, even though we brought it to a screeching halt there at the end with my negativity.
That's why I changed the subject real fast.
Yeah, Cody wore off on me. I mean, he just kept wearing me down. Yeah, here I am. And Chris Asbrock in the chat trying to pump me up, man. He says optimistic me says win, realistic me says loss. So he's kind of wishy-washy on that one.
They're going to win.
I hope you're right. You're right.
It's not a division game.
On the road, though?
Doesn't matter.
I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. As we begin to wrap things up again, I'll just remind you that we do record the show live every Tuesday night at 9 o'clock. So make sure you join us. It's a lot of fun, as you can tell here on the podcast. We have fun. We read the chats. We have the phone line so you can call in and have your say. What better way to spend your Tuesday night? So make sure you join us next Tuesday night as we recap the game against the Washington football team and look ahead for the Bengals. Mickey, as we wrap things up, you got any final thoughts?
I don't think it's all doom and gloom. I think the hump that the Bengals really need to solve, the puzzle piece that's missing is these division games. We've seen steady improvement from the team all year, except against the Ravens and Steelers. So I'm still optimistic.
Well, we appreciate you being on the show, Mr. Optimistic.
Thanks for having me.
All right, beam me up, Scotty. You got any final thoughts? We know you said a lot tonight.
Yeah, I did. I was saving it all for my final thoughts here. Nick, it just proves how disappointed we all were this week that none of us even mentioned the fact that Geno Atkins was out, didn't play this week for what's listed as personal reasons. And I didn't realize that until today. So I watched the entire game on Sunday, not even realizing that Atkins wasn't out there. That's how much he has affected this year. Other than that, Nick, I'm excited that the Bengals do get their first road win this week. I feel it. I know you don't, but I do. I see Zach coming back to the city with his first road victory. So very excited for that.
And it only took him a year and a half. Hopefully.
Only a year and a half. Yep. Not bad.
Appreciate you as always, buddy.
You bet.
AC, you got any parting words?
Yeah, just a couple quick things. To Mickey's point, I wish I shared some of his optimism, but Bengals are 60. They've been outscored 63-13 against the Steelers and Ravens this year on the road. So that's really, really disturbing in terms of stats. So if they're a long ways away, at least if we're gauging on those two games from competing with those two teams. And then quickly, best wishes to Andrew Whitworth, who suffered a pretty gruesome knee injury. Great guy for the Bengals. I've met him in San Diego years ago. Awesome guy. And obviously kind of like fine wine, ended up playing almost better football with the Rams than he did with the Bengals, which is really saying something. And who knows what's next for his career, but hope he gets well soon.
Yeah, I think the report I saw today is 6 to 8 weeks.
Yep.
Which is very good news. As always, AC, appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you, man. Thanks for all you do.
Oh, no problem. Cody in the chat, he responding to me. He says, I didn't make you this way, Nick. This franchise made us this way. This team is to blame. Can't really argue that, Cody. Can't really argue that. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that the Bengals go out this weekend and get their first road win in the Zach Taylor era against the Washington football team. I really do. I just hope that I hope that he's able to get everybody on board again and get in the right direction, because man, that Titans win, I thought we were all trending that way, and then back to reality, we came screeching over the weekend against the Steelers. So we'll see what happens. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Thanks to everybody who downloaded the show. We appreciate you. For Mickey and AC and Scott, I am Subs. We'll talk to you next week, Bengals fans. Hoo-day.
Hoo-day.
Hoo-day.